So on my first semester at Asbury, it was kind of the first time that I really experienced how Christianity is diverse, how cross-culturally it is. You know, I was just used to the Brazilian church, and that's it, the same way of doing church. And then out of the sudden, I was in this place with, although it is Kentucky, although it is Wilmore, and although we just have one, how do you say, lights, you know, one gas station and stuff. Like, it was a small town in Kentucky. Asbury, it is a great diverse community. We have over 35 countries represented. So it was the first time I was really experiencing cross-cultural Christianity, in a sense, if I can use that expression. So one of the assignments in the first semester was really to have a cross-cultural interview. So we would try to find someone from a different culture. It could be someone from California, Kentucky, two different cultures. Or it could be an international student with an American. Of course, I was the only Brazilian on campus. A lot of people came to talk to me, and I was really glad about it. It was really good. But I must confess one thing that might resonate with you or not. But I was a little bit shocked with one conversation I had, because it was the first time that I met a Christian, or some Christians, who did not believe in miracles. That was completely new to me. Was interesting, let's say like that. Okay, so our conversation was something like that. So the guy came to my house, we were talking different things, and then he goes like, so do you believe in miracles? I was like, sure, who doesn't, right? And how many services do you have in your church in Brazil? I was like, well, it used to be 5, now we just have 3. And then he kept going like, so, and do you believe in demons? I said, yeah. So do you guys cast out demons in church? Of course we do. And then he was like, huh. And do you guys have a specific worship service just for that? I was like, kind of, yeah. You know, if you look at the bulletin, Tuesday that's the name. Healing and Liberation Service. So, yeah, we kind of focus more on prayer and you know, special requests and all that. So, yeah, I'd say yes, but it happens every service. And he was like, huh, so you guys have a special service just to pray for healing? I was like, yeah. It was, huh. Here, we just go to the doctor. And we laughed, and I thought with myself, I'm quite sure this guy thinks that everybody in Brazil lives in the woods like Tarzan or something, you know, like, because of course we do go to the doctor as well, but we do pray for healing. I mean, it's just... But anyway, the point of this conversation, why I'm mentioning this conversation with you is this. This text talks about a huge miracle. It was Jesus multiplying food, right? So if I was in Brazil, that's why I'm mentioning this conversation with this guy, by default, I would be preaching by providence, I would be preaching by miracles, I would be preaching by God's intervention in your life, in this earth, something supernatural. It's just by default. We do that. It's just, you know, and it's normal. It's not a shock. But here, I don't want to focus on that today. And really, it's not because some of you might not believe in miracles. I'm just mentioning that, but it has nothing to do. It's really when I was reading it, what God was steering me up with was something different. Okay, so I will try to talk briefly about problem solving. You know, that's kind of what I read in this text this morning was a little bit more about that. So as you know, we've been talking about the image of God as the Gospel of Luke presents to us. So basically, how Luke presents God revealed in the person of Jesus to us. We've been talking how Jesus was the beloved Son of God, how Jesus was a preacher, a teacher, a healer, the Lord of Sabbath, as he said himself, how he presented himself as a compassionate God when he resurrected that kid in the village of Naim. But there's a different angle to the gospel that to me is quite interesting because people would see him, there's kind of a progression in the gospel as a student, as a teacher or rabbi, because he was always preaching in the synagogues. At some point, the Pharisees didn't like him preaching in the synagogues. He started coming out and preaching in open field. And that's kind of when began his cross-cultural ministry, because as he moved out from the synagogue, people from all over the place, not just Jews, would come to hear from him and to be prayed for by him. And I need to say that because in the passage we are reading today, at this moment, Jesus was already famous. He was a famous teacher, he was a famous healer, and he was considered by some a prophet. So, this Jesus, teacher, prophet, healer, all that image, he's going to a city called Bethsaida, and a lot of people followed him, even though he was trying to go just with his 12 disciples. People saw it, they followed. So he welcomed them, that says the Bible, and stopped and taught and prayed for them and healed the sick for a while. For so long that it was getting dark. And they didn't feel it. Was good, so they were there. And the disciples come to him as good disciples, in my opinion, with two problems and offering one solution. They say, Jesus, this place has nothing. This is a remote place. And there's no food here for all these people. We need to send them away to the villages so they can find food and lodging. I don't see in the text they saying, Jesus, we are tired, just send them away so we can rest or so we can find lodging for us, we can find food for us. No, they were being nice church people. Hey, it's good to be here, but it's about noon, people are hungry, they need to go home and eat. They need to be with their families, so let's finish sharp by noon, Pastor. It's just like trying to be helpful and serve people. That's what I see. And to me, it's interesting that they come up with the problems. It's a remote place, no food, but they offer something. They offer a solution. And we find this to be true in churches as well. We see the need around us. We see, we need to do this to help people. We should open this ministry. We should do that. We should keep doing that. We should multiply what we do here because it's really good and people enjoy. But we don't have money. We don't have enough volunteers. Our church used to do this and that and that and that. And it was great. We should do it again. But there's no way to do it. How can we do it? And people get stressed out because they want to do good things. They want to serve people. They want to do things to God, serve people because they love God. They love people because they love God. They were transformed by God. But there are problems. There are issues. It's hard. And And the problem is when we are trying to solve those problems, because it's not just church, we have problems at home, right? We have problems with our kids, problems with our brothers and sisters, we have brothers between spouses, we have crises, different crises. We have problems at work. And the problem is when we try to solve those problems, not the problem, I'd say the danger is when we lose focus of what it is really important. And that's what I think happened in this passage. The disciples were trying to serve people well, get them safe in the villages and feed them, but they didn't have the means to do it. And as I was thinking about that, I did remember, and I'll tell you this real short story. One of the services in my church in Brazil was in fact one Tuesday healing and liberation service. So it was kind of this service. My pastor would invite some preachers sometimes from different churches, from different denominations as well, just because he understood that people have different gifts and the church should benefit from different gifts. So that Tuesday was a preacher with a healing ministry. Okay? So he was really nice. It was really hard to follow his preaching because he wouldn't stop talking. It was too fast. And you can notice I'm not a fast speaker. I try, but my pace is not about English. In Portuguese, I speak slowly. It's just the way I am. And it was really hard to follow this preacher. But it was really good. And then after the sermon, he would invite people and he would pray for them. So that Tuesday, as he prayed, people were falling down. Have you ever seen that? Some churches, it happens, people pray for you, sometimes they touch you, sometimes don't, and you feel just like, whoa, and you fall down. And you enjoy some time there on the floor with the Spirit. It happened with me a few times. Once, I was with my brother in a retreat, and I said, I'm not going to fall. And I did like this, seriously, to make sure I had, enough. But I did fall, yeah. But anyway, that day, the guy was preaching for people. And of course, for each one who would drop down, 2 more would come. It was taking forever. The service was supposed to end around 9 p.m. It was already 9:40. And it was just going. Boom, boom, boom. A retired pastor who used to sit in the back had this great idea, Dr. Gower. He came saying, wake up, let's up. It's time to go home. It's late. Can you believe that? And I do assume the best because it was late. And a lot of people would use public transportation. It is not safe, right? So I assume the best. The pastor was really concerned about the safety of those people. So lift up, let's go home. My senior pastor was not quite gentle, but he dealt. He said, okay, you don't do that. Thank you for your service, but you don't do that. I am the pastor here. But he did something. He said, you know what, brothers and sisters, I know it is late, and some of you need to go home. So I'm going to pray. I'm going to officially end this service. But if you need prayer, please come. I don't mind staying here until 6 a.m. That's what he did. Prayed, gave the blessing, bye-bye, go home. So, problems. It was late. It was not safe. 2 different solutions. Wake up. Stop your prayer. Or, let's finish this service, but if you need prayer, stay, we'll serve you. as much as you need. And that's what I think what Jesus did. Because when the disciples came, Jesus sent them away because there's no food here. What Jesus said, feed them. You, feed them. A different solution. Of course, he was Jesus. He could do miracles, right? Quite easy. But they were concerned. They were like, well, but we don't have enough food. What do you think? We can just go somewhere and buy? We don't have the money. There's no place to buy that many. And again, as I was reading it, I was really thinking about how sometimes we have issues as a church, and we are really trying to be effective, but we don't have the means, or we need to change things that would really hurt our identity or something like that. So it's a really sensitive situation. It's difficult. It's just difficult. But I am amazed how Luke describes that Jesus get people in groups, he all organized. He get the food they had was not much. He gives a blessing. He pretty much keep performing what a leader should do, he was not stressing out the crowd. He was with his leaders finding a solution. And to me, it's funny because these guys were with this man for a while now. They saw this man teaching in the synagogues, becoming a famous healer, teacher, preacher, and prophet. And still, they didn't understand who he was. And sometimes I feel that we don't always understand who Jesus is, who God is, even though we are church people. It's just normal. I'm not accusing anyone. I don't want you to feel bad. Let me tell you this, chapter 7, what happens in Luke chapter 7. John the Baptist sent his disciples to ask who Jesus was. He was a prophet. He baptized Jesus. He was his cousin. And at some point, he had some kind of confusion because Jesus was too different. But anyway, this is another sermon. Point is, when we face our problems, our struggles, no matter what area, as a church, as a family, as a company, as a boss, as an employee, we need to keep things in perspective always. As a church, we need to keep our mission first. We need to do our best, but sometimes doing our best means let go some things, adjusting others, and coming with something new. A lot of options. We need to seek discernment from God about that. And it's not all about money. Let me tell you this. I don't know if you ever heard of a guy called Philip Jerkins. He has a book that he basically, he's an anthropologic person. I don't know how to say that in English. Anthropologist? Anthropologist. And then he it's this thick, the book. He makes a great assessment. And what he says is by 2050, like over 80% of the church will be in the global south. It's the new face of Christianity. I think that's the name of the book. South America, Africa, and Asia. The Western church, unfortunately, is shrinking. And why I'm saying that, I don't want you to feel bad. I want you to give hope. Because, of course, this is just, if it keeps the way it is, that's going to happen. But we can change things, right? And why I'm saying this, it's because, I don't know if you know that, but most of the countries in Latin America, in Africa, in good part of Asia, they are not rich. They don't have a lot of money. And the church is growing. And it is growing. So that should give us hope, because not always what we need is money. We need education. We need a servant heart. Sometimes we need something else. So let's try to share the gifts God gives to us as this diverse community with different gifts, with different perspectives. Together, our differences become one new, stronger thing. And we can thrive as a church because of that. I hope the Holy Spirit will bother you with that, and really something new will come up in your life as a person, as a family, and as a whole church. Amen.